Oh. You see, and now it's a beautiful throw. Oh! It's Todd from Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and today we are going to talk about this, a picture from a book. And then we are going to throw it. Not the book, obviously. We're going to make the thing that's in the picture and throw that, or at least try, see if it works. And the reason is, this is weird. Now look at this. So, we have a stick at the top here, then we have a cord, comes down, and then we have a barbed dart with fletchings on it. Now, these fletched barbed darts are, well, you see them in manuscripts, particularly with the Dance of Death, with skeletons throwing them, but you see them in naval warfare, you see them in sieges, occasionally on battlefields. You never see them in museums, I don't know of any, let me know if you do. Always got this barbed head on the end, like that, really nasty thing. So I think not armour, it's anti-flesh. And certainly by the 15th, 16th century, the Irish made massive use of these, particularly harrying against English horses. But the Irish used them with a throwing string on them, a thong. And what that does, quite simply, is it allows you to throw this further. It's an old idea, so it goes back to the ancient Greeks, the Romans used them, it's even mentioned in a Viking saga, and the Irish certainly used them still into the 16th century. So we know about throwing strings, we know about fletched darts, they exist. So what is this? Well, that comes from a manuscript by a guy called Mariano Taccola, dated 1433, so that's really sort of at the beginning of the Renaissance thinking. But he wrote a book called Ingenesis, and it's about civil engineering, it's about engineering in general, and it is about weaponry. So like so many sort of Renaissance thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci after him, they deal with all manner of things of daily life. And warfare, especially in Italy, warfare is daily life. But what makes this really interesting to me, that stick there, and then the cord coming down, and then the arrow here, the dart. The dart is fletched in the middle. That is weird. You know, that's undoubtedly weird, and we'll come to that. But that stick and that cord says to me that they're thinking about atlatls. The whole sort of idea of an atlatl, which is not a European thing as far as I knew, at least in medieval times. You know, obviously it was in prehistory. And yet in this manuscript here, there is something that is so very close to it that it makes you wonder if he knew of it or if he was conceiving of it. But either way, that is absolutely fascinating. But the other thing that's really peculiar is the fletchings halfway down the shaft. What the heck is that about? Why? Why not put the fletchings on the end of the shaft? In the best traditions of children's TV, I have some I made earlier. And here they are, a bunch of 4 of them with these lovely, lovely Will Sherman heads on the end. Some nice big war arrow fletchings. And then this shaft sticking out the end here. Now I've had to guess on sizes because the thing is the manuscript is quite clearly wrong. If you look again, the stick that it's been thrown from is sort of a 2-handed stick in proportion to the dart, or the dart would be really tiny. It's one of those two things. But if it's a 2-handed stick, there's no way of holding the dart. If it's a tiny, tiny dart, it just doesn't work with the long string. So proportionally, that picture cannot be correct. So what that means is I've had to reinterpret this, and I have this stick here, this string, and these darts. Now there's only one thing to do now. We've got to go throw it. I'm back in the field now with my darts and ready to throw. Now if you look at the back of the dart here, I made a groove. And I made an assumption, it just kind of felt right that there should be a groove and the thread goes around, the cord goes around, goes over the knot like that. So you can see it just holds it tight and it doesn't come off. And then you come down and you hold it. So the whole construction is like that. And the idea is that disengages when you throw. But I've been doing some testing rather obviously because I don't want to look like a fool, and actually if you put it in a groove it sort of binds the dart a little bit, so we'll do it like this. Sometimes it works brilliantly, sometimes it doesn't. Not very interesting, not very impressive. It went low, it went flat, and that's partly because I'm not used to it, but partly because it seems to bind in the groove. Now this time I'm not going to put it in the groove that's there, so I'm just going to hold the knot on, hold it in place, and the friction, tension, is enough to hold it there. And otherwise, I'm holding it in exactly the same way. But it seems to work cleaner, so we'll have another look. Nice. So we'll go again, see if we'll get another one. There's definitely a learning process to this. I'm not going to get every single one right. The wonders of edits are going to make me look like some sort of throwing god. That's not true. But I can get 4, 5, 6 in a row sometimes where they are really good, and that's surely just a matter of learning. Now that was a very interesting one. It was rubbish, we'll all admit that. But it spun, and I haven't quite worked out why it does that. Sometimes they go really flat and clean, other times it actually rotates on its axis and it hardly goes, well, half the distance. It goes half the distance. And I haven't quite worked out why it rotates like that yet. That was a nice one. So let's go again. Now I'm actually throwing a little to the right of where I think I should be, so I'm going to try and correct, see if we can get towards Graham, our brave GoPro, down the bottom there. Oh, I corrected a little bit further left, roughly same kind of distance, another nice throw. You might think this is a really fiddly way of doing it. Well, actually, it is a fiddly way of doing it. I can't pretend it's not. But you look at that manuscript, I can't see another way. I mean, you suggest to me, you can tell me about hooks and things like that, but it's actually really difficult to get a cord to release cleanly off a device. So I think it was done like this. When you get it right, this goes. That GoPro out there is 42 meters away at the moment, which is about as far as I've thrown these, but that's a heck of a distance for somebody who really isn't a good thrower. Oh, what is going on? Well, here's some development in progress. So this morning, before I started filming, I took it out and I threw like a demon, and it worked brilliantly. And I tried to film it, and I just couldn't really make it work properly, not consistently. So I thought, well, there's a problem, and I looked at the knot on the end, and the knot had tightened up. And I've replaced it with a little wooden bead now, and it now seems to work much better. So fingers crossed, it's exactly the same. You wrap it around. There we are, and the bead forms exactly the same process. And let's have a look and see if I have managed to improve things. Oh, goodness. Right, well, that overshot the GoPro and actually went into the old chicken coop. So I'm thinking about 45 meters, something like that. GoPro's at 42, so that's quite a throw for an amateur. So I've gone to try and retrieve my dart. Come look at this. Can you see it yet? That's the result. We'll have my dart back now and we will throw again. A little bit short. I mean, these definitely need learning about. They're weird, but when you get them right, my goodness, they are right. Oh! So 45 meters beyond the GoPro. Imagine this in the hands of a medieval soldier who was practiced in it. Ah. And that is my case in point. My editor really is going to have a job making me look good on this one. Let's go again. We'll just do this last one and then we will talk about this funny tail. Oh, nice throw to end. Now, quite clearly, a thing that is odd about this projectile is the fletchings are halfway down the shaft, and then you've got this long extension at the back here. I've tried throwing it like that, as if it's a plumbata or something. Tumbles, no good at all. So what is it about? Well, clearly you could mount this cord anywhere along that shaft length. Somewhere between about half and 2/3 of the length, basically the end of the fletchings here, seems to work well. If you put it right at the end, it sort of tumbles it. It just kicks the back up as it launches. Doesn't really work very well. But we've got to demonstrate it. We've got to have a look. So let's try it. Okay, so that was short and flat. Wasn't very nice at all. It behaved completely differently. Went to the right. I'm pretty sure I threw it in basically the same place. Again, a disaster. So we'll do one more just to prove the point that I still don't really understand what that's all about either. Oh, it's just weird. Weird thing. That's it for you today, but I can tell you it's not for me because I am not putting these things down until I've worked out how to use them. So work is on hold. Help me out, sign up, put your bell notifications on, subscribe, sign up to the newsletter on the website. But this thing is just going to divert me till who knows when. See you later. And there you have it, another rubbish throw. Ah!